This is Rally Round the Cannon, some thoughts on Princeton's history by somebody who should know better. For your favorite periodical here, a cover date is a sometime thing. In fact, here at History Central, we don't even have a cover unless you count your iPad, Magno thingy, or my pith helmet maybe. So, while this missive carries a June 1st date, you're just as likely listening to it on May 26th or whenever, just so you can be the first to approach true enlightenment on your block or in your cell block or whatever. The only reason I mention it is that the P-Raid may be going on as you read this, and that marks the point of discussion for this episode. If that sounds suspiciously like current events rather than history, which, as we all know, is required to be plodding and irrelevant, let me assure you we're actually marking 70 years since a momentous transition. But as so often happens with history, we see it starkly in front of us in the P-Raid, where we either have to deal with it or literally close our eyes to the wisdom of our own past. At this year's P-Raid, the class of 1945 joins the old guard. In the simplest terms, this is the last group of Princetonians to matriculate before the bombing of Pearl Harbor. For anyone who was around back then, you don't need to say much more. For the younger set, just recall 9/11 and try to imagine yourself as a U.S. Marine at the time. Then multiply it by 2. Going to war simultaneously with Germany and Japan was about as good a way to mess up your big 3 weekends as you can imagine. The class of 45s got messed up good and proper, and many other things they hoped for besides. By their theoretical graduation date, 24 of them were dead. You may or may not be an adherent of the greatest generation viewpoint, the idea that these are extraordinary people. My father, a World War II veteran himself, felt that the times make the man, rarely the reverse. But I do want to mention something truly unique that the class of 45 left for all of us a long time ago, that you can walk over to the class of 35 room at Mudd Library and cogitate on any old time you want. It's a class book, like many others from many other classes in many outward ways, but startlingly unique. The class of 1945 didn't do a 5th reunion book. They had a good excuse. Some of their number were still undergrads at the time. Indeed, the last to earn a Princeton A.B. received it after their 5th reunion at the 1950 commencement, a stretch of over 6 years since the first accelerated grads in February of 1944. In June of 1945, the nominal class of 45 graduated 12 men. In any real sense, war letters and photos were their group experience, President Dodd's Christmas books their common classroom. Classmates were concerned about this chaos, and an informal group of them resolved in 1948 to capture these extraordinary memories while they were still fresh. As it turned out, classmate John Kaufman had been relentlessly gathering letters and memorabilia from the class during the war with such a project already in mind. Faced with the alternative of forming a committee, the group recalled Will Rogers' warning that outside of traffic there's nothing that has held this country back as much as committees, and the class of 48 handed the entire editorial load to a willing Kaufman who assembled the class book published in early 1952. Everybody's current contact information is included per the class book norm. It features many grainy black and white pictures and the normal recollections of freshman teams, professors, and foaming pitchers at the NAS. But the monumental 1945 class journal section, 48 pages, 2 columns, magazine sized, then veers into the draft, V12 programs, close order drills, and AWOL. Dates and events become muddled. Classmates leave early, then suddenly return late. The undergraduate years stretch out to 6, 7, 9. Class reunions, marriages, and graduations take place simultaneously in some mix of weird parallel dimensions. Following that, there are 16 pages called Writings of War. 50 classmates are decorated for gallantry. Guys stuck in South Carolina lose to Yaleys in poker games. They spend interminable time on troop ships. They drink expensive French champagne in the cellar of former Gestapo headquarters in Germany. Their friends die. They haul howitzers from island to island. They liberate and experience Dachau and so become hate-filled revenge killers. But even that is not the driving impetus of the book. The beginning 52 pages consist of 2-page spreads for each of 26 deceased classmates. Everything else is afterthought. Stockton Bartol, a highly decorated pilot, died in a raid over Germany after he was eligible for stand down. Ben McBurney died in Okinawa. His nephew, born 7 weeks later, is named for him. Kurt Poilin died on Luzon and is buried at Arlington next to his fellow cavalryman father. Belgian Pierre Soesman, the first to volunteer, was shot down flying for the Royal Canadian Air Force over Le Havre. Walt Hall died with the 10th Mountain Division in Italy and received a posthumous Silver Star. He was actually Walter Phelps Hall, Jr., the elder son of legendary history professor Buzzer Hall. Before the book offers any chance of normal interaction, of collegial recognition and recollection, of business as usual, this truth must be faced and stared down eye to eye. This is a harrowing experience. What sorts of 30-year-olds put such thing together? This is a book with faces of normal fifth reunioners, but with huge weapons, poignant decorations, mud, and trauma. Many had already done the most important or dangerous things in their entire lives, and they knew it, and even hoped never to do anything like it again. The various elements in the class of 1945's Memorial and Chronicle, as they call it, have the giddiness of youth at a fifth reunion and also the finality of weariness at a 65th. In some important ways, 45 was part of the old guard decades before the clock said so. In contrast to most other class books you pick up, it doesn't reflect a distinct stage of life. It shows the whole breadth of life, having gone berserk on a tiny group of 600 innocent bystanders. Joe Kaufman's ability to tell a story using others' thoughts is stunning. There is wisdom in virtually every page, but a flavor of helplessness and awe as well. Perhaps that is where great generations come from. And after all of that, the Memorial and Chronicle actually may have been premature. After the book was complete, classmate John Kelch, who stayed in the Navy following World War II, was flying a rescue helicopter in Korea off the USS Princeton. On a risky mercy mission, he was shot down and captured and later died in captivity. He was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. The citation praises his great personal valor and heroic spirit of self-sacrifice. In that, he was, of course, not alone. That is something to consider during the P-Raid. Yours in virtual orange and black, this is Greg Lang of the great class of 1970. Rally Around the Cannon is a podcast from the Princeton Alumni Weekly online.